Miles, what's up? What's going on, my friend? How we doing tonight? Rachel, what's up there? Nas, what did you guys think of SmackDown tonight? Got to be honest, pretty good show. We're going to talk about everything. Got a lot to discuss here. Starting up in a few minutes with the full review of Friday Night SmackDown, guys. Be sure to hit that thumbs up when you make your way in here. All right, hit that like button, guys. We're going to review Friday Night SmackDown here, April 4th, 2025. Road to WrestleMania. We're just 2 weeks away. Things really got amped up. And we're going to talk Kevin Owens. Unfortunate injury news with KO, so we'll talk about that. What's up there, Rach? Yeah, we'll talk about it, Rach, for sure. Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. There's a lot to touch upon tonight, so we're gonna get to all of it, guys. We're gonna start up in 3 or 4 minutes here. We'll start from the very top of the show all the way to the end. Honestly, this was a very good show collectively, and if this show ended at 10 o'clock, it would have been perfect. But hour three was good as well. So we'll talk about it. Again, guys, if you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Again, make your way in here, subscribe, hit the like button, hit the thumbs up. Everything helps the channel out and the live itself. Yeah, Rach, I know. Roman caught that GTS at the end there, so we'll definitely touch upon that amongst many other topics here on Turnbuckle Topics tonight. But, guys, thanks again, as always, for joining me for the SmackDown review. I'm here Mondays and Fridays after Raw and SmackDown. And so we're going to jump right into it. All right, we're going to jump right into it. Get a little sip of water here, and we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. You know, we went into tonight's show, right? We went into tonight's show knowing there was going to be 7 matches at least scheduled for Mania. By the end of the show, one of those matches was removed, and 3 were added. So we have 9 total. Again, we're gonna talk about that. The unfortunate news with Kevin Owens, right? Needing neck surgery. Going to be out a while, so speedy recovery to KO. Randy, without a shadow of a doubt, will be on WrestleMania. So fear not, Randy will be on WrestleMania. Guys, welcome in if you're just joining. We're just starting up here, the Friday Night SmackDown review. Big show we had tonight in Chicago, Illinois. We're going to talk about everything. All I ask of you, if you're new here, be sure to hit the subscribe button. All right, hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button as well. And we got a lot to talk about over the course of the next hour and change here on this Friday night. 2 weeks away from WrestleMania. WrestleMania 41, right around the corner in Las Vegas. So again, guys, hit that subscribe button, all right? Smash that button, smash the like button, and we're going to get down to business. What if? All right, Rachel, we'd love to hear it. We'd love to hear it. So look, let's talk about the opening of this show. Again, speedy recovery to KO. We'll get to that in a little bit. CM Punk, of course, had to start off this show in his hometown of Chicago, Illinois. Had a lot to talk about, right? He wanted to talk about now, main eventing WrestleMania for the first time. We found that out last Friday, night 1. Him, Roman, and Seth. They also were all in at the end of this show as well, much like last week. So obviously we'll talk about that at the end. We'll go chronologically speaking. He was just letting Chicago know how appreciative he is of all of them, each and every one of them. And blase, blase, blah. It was a long but heartfelt promo from Punk. He appreciates everyone congratulating him and wishing him luck as he goes through the airport. And now the hard work begins, right? Getting ready, just 2 weeks away for WrestleMania. Not just getting to the main event, but getting the win. Whether that means pinning or submitting Roman or Seth, we'll see. We'll see what happens there. So again, great opening promo. Enter Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman makes his way in, says he apologizes for being so late and assures everyone it's no disrespect to Chicago or CM Punk himself. And Punk says, he says, ask not what you can do for your wise man, but what your wise man can do for you. He tells Punk that he belongs in this ring in Chicago and in the main event of WrestleMania. We saw the very heartfelt moment. We know all the long history with CM Punk and Paul Heyman. They're very good friends in real life as well. So, again, this is cool. Again, whether you like Punk or not, it's cool to see this kind of stuff. The last time they stood inside this ring, he came up to see him because Solo Sikoa and company were breathing down his neck. And he said, please take me with you, right? And then the next week, they took him out, which an episode of SmackDown that I was at last year, Madison Square Garden, June of 2024. They put him through the commentary table. We didn't see Heyman for weeks, right? Punk took a beating from Drew McIntyre at Hell in a Cell. We all knew that. That he almost didn't come back. So he talked about all that. And long story short, he came to CM Punk and begged and pleaded for Punk to be the 5th man at War Games. We all know that. And the whole favor bid, which we're going to get to a little later in the show as well. And long story short, Punk asks what he can do for him. Paul leans in and asks Punk to tell him what the favor is that he wants of him. Roman is breathing down his neck, and he wants to know And if you know what it's like to get a Samoan angry, blah, blah, blah. We find out at the end of the show, Roman's there, Seth's there, and all this good stuff. There's lots of theories what's going to happen coming out of Mania. Will Heyman be with Punk? Will Heyman still be with Roman? Will Heyman even side with Seth? It's got a lot of people thinking that the last week, me included. So there was even a little bit of an innuendo tonight where you kind of thought, hey, maybe Heyman could be leaving with Seth when all is said and done come WrestleMania. So we'll see. So that was pretty much that. And Heyman said he'd like to tell him at the same time he tells Roman about, what's going to happen next. So we see Roman Seth later in the show. I don't know. What did you guys think of the opening of the show? Please let me know in the comments section. Then we would finally get the debut of Rey Fenix, one half of the Lucha Bros. After we've been waiting him for show up for a while, right? His brother Penta debuted, what was it, early January 2025, and Penta's been on fire ever since, so he has been looking back. Rey Fenix, I'm excited for him. I thought this match was good. Again, more so just happy for him, Rey Fenix, the individual, for finally being in WWE. I got to be honest with you, I'm more of a Penta guy if you're going to make me choose between one of the two Lucha Bros. But I do love Rey Fenix as well, and I love them as a tag team. So Rey Fenix had an impressive showing. Let's see here. Sean says, I think Paul Heyman will turn on Roman before Mania. Sure. All right. 31. Still no Alexa at this point. Yeah, no, Alexa's absolutely not going to be factored into Mania. And if, the be-all, end-all of that was when we saw at the end of this show where we saw we're getting a number one contenders tag team gauntlet match next week to find out who's going to be Liv and Raquel's opponent at Mania. Right? So we all knew that by now, if Alexa was on TV the past month alongside the Wyatt Six, that by now Alexa would have been implemented. How? Who knows? But Alexa would have definitely been implemented into the Wyatt Six by now, joining Nikki. And you best believe that, Alexa and Nikki not only would have been the ones probably going up against them at Mania, but dare I say, maybe even possibly dethroning Liv and Raquel at Mania. There's nobody on this list I'm looking at right now. Kaden, Katana, Lyra, Bayley, a makeshift tag team. By the way, those two fight for Lyra's IC title Monday on Raw. Zoe and Shayna, they'll be pulled out of obscurity. We haven't seen them since Sonya Deville got dropped 2 months ago from the company, the leader of PFC. So how serious could we take them? B-Fab and Mishin, I like them. I really do. Do I think they're going to win? No. We have Piper Niven, Alba Fire. Again, awesome tag team. They recently formed alongside the Secret Hervis, right? Alongside Chelsea Green, which is the first time in a while we didn't see Chelsea on the show, I believe, tonight, right? The U.S. champion. And then the makeshift tag team we heard put together last week due to Maxine Dupree going up to Adam Pearce and saying, I would like to form a tag team with Natalya. So love Natalya, but Natalya's had more tag team partners than probably years I've had on this earth, and I'm knocking on 40. Natalya has had so many tag team partners. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just that when push comes to shove in the women's division, and when they're trying to figure out something for Natalya, and then possibly somebody new or somebody that's floundering backstage, they're like, put her with Natalya Neidhart, and that's how it always ends. So, whatever. We get those 6 teams going at it next Friday on SmackDown, and the winner will go up against Liv and Raquel, presumably at WrestleMania. So, that said, Nikki and Alexa would have been fun to see them going for the title gold at Mania, potentially even becoming 3-time tag champs. They have history dating back to 2019, 2020 as tag champs. So, what are you going to do? What's that? It takes them way too long to start talking. His brother has more swag. Yeah, I agree. Penta, that's what it is, Nas, to me. I think Rey Fenix is a phenomenal wrestler, but even dating back to when I watched them in Impact a little bit, I watched them obviously all these years in AEW, Lucha Bros, and they're a great tag team. But yeah, Penta, it's not that Rey doesn't have swag, Rey Fenix. It's just that Pentagon Jr., whatever you want to call him, his swag is just on another level. He just got it. He just got it. So Penta there's a lot of reasons to like him inside and outside the ring. Rachel says, what if Heyman screws over Punk and joins forces with Seth? Yeah, I still think that's very much so on the table, Rachel. I think that's very much so on the table. So we're going to jump down and talk briefly about the match that took place. Not going to spend too much time, but I will make mention of it because Rey Fenix, and shout out to Nathan Frazier, making his debut on SmackDown tonight. I thought that was awesome. One half of the 2-time NXT Tag Team Champions. We saw his tag team partner in Germany, I think 3-4 weeks ago. It was the week of that he had the NXT match at the Garden. That was the 11th. So yeah, Friday the 14th of March, we got to see, his tag team partner, Axiom, get a match in Spain, where he's from, Barcelona, Spain, against Gunther. And now we got to see the other half of that of Fraxium, Nathan Frazier, who, by the way, is definitely hitting the gym more than ever. His arms are massive. So good for him. Nathan Frazier, Phoenix, was a decent match. It was all right, but I think Frazier was a good opening opponent for him for his debut. It was mentioned in the last couple of days. It was in the notes, with huge grains of salt, that we were probably going to be getting Andrade versus Rey Fenix. Which, look, I would have been open for that, and I'm looking forward to a match like that in the future on SmackDown. But as a debut opponent, I don't know. I think Nathan Frazier made sense. You bring a guy like this up for his debut match on SmackDown, he loses absolutely nothing from it, getting the opportunity against the debuting Rey Fenix. And again, the match was all right. I think Penta's debut was more impressive against Chad Gable back in January-ish or so, but this was still good. Frazier landed an enziguri towards the end of this match. Phoenix cut him off with a kick up in a muscle buster position, swung it out into a Michinoku driver for the win. So Rey Fenix got the win. Again, post-match promo was all right. Very heartfelt. He's been waiting for this day to join WWE, much like many others. Penta even exclaimed that 3 months ago when he beat Chad post-match. But again, Penta is easily more of the fan favorite of the two, but that takes nothing away from Rey Fenix, that is. I think Penta's just got more of an overall attraction. He's more of a draw, right? But I do look forward to the day that they do join up as the Lucha Bros yet again in WWE. They're going to be a problem, and not only will they win gold once, twice, 3 times, I could see Lucha Bros easily being 4 or 5-time tag team champions when all is said and done, whenever they do leave the company. So they're going to have a lot of fun with that. So yeah, that was pretty much that. Now, following that, backstage, we saw Santos Escobar lecture Los Garza. He's been ruffling the feathers of both Humberto and Angel lately, saying, come on, guys, we got to get some wins. They're falling apart. Elektra Lopez got released from the company, their leading lady, 2 months ago. So it's been unfortunate. Humberto Carrillo says Phoenix is just a flying lizard and he's better than him. Santos says, I'll speak with all this. We'll set up a match. So we do have Humberto versus Rey Fenix. Obviously, Rey Fenix will win next week, right? But it's going to be a good match. Take nothing away from Humberto. I think a lot of people forget these people that get stuck in tag teams, whether or not the tag team's good or not. A lot of it depends upon the push they get or not. And Humberto can go. When he first came onto the scene on the main roster, I want to say 2019. I want to say it was shortly before COVID hit. He was mainly showcased on Monday Night Raw by himself as a babyface. Humberto Carrillo is great, and so is Angel Garza. And as a tag team, they massively underachieved. If you know, you know. So they should have at least won a tag team title on whether it was Raw, SmackDown, NXT. They've been on all brands together at one point or another. So let's see here. Wiccan, what's up, man? The fans were saying you messed up to Frazier on that dive, but that was on Rey Fenix. Sure. Yeah, good point about that. Yep. Adrian, what's up? Adrian. My best Rocky impression. Chris, what's up in the chat? Back so excited Jacob wins tonight. Yeah, it looks like we're getting Jacob Fatu versus LA Knight at the Show of Shows, WrestleMania 41. Aldis versus Randy would be fun. Now, look, are we definitely going to get Nick Aldis versus Randy? I don't know. You got to remember, Randy hit Aldis with an RKO last year, too. Nothing came of it. So if Aldis is his opponent, I would love nothing more than for Nick Aldis to have his first match at Mania. A big shame about KO. We'll talk about that in a little bit, guys. KO being sidelined for God knows how long. Neck injuries, you know how that is. Very tricky. Could be years. And, or career altering. Life altering, obviously, if you get a neck injury, neck surgery, rather. So, again, guys, I want to take this moment. If you're new here, welcome in. Hit the subscribe button, all right? I'm here Mondays and Fridays, immediately following Raw and SmackDown. Full review of the show, all right? Talking, obviously, Friday night SmackDown here tonight. It was a great show. Usually SmackDown in 2025, I have not been impressed with overall because the 3 hours I don't think has done anything great for them. But lately, I don't know. SmackDown's been pretty damn good. And the road to WrestleMania, 2 weeks out, we're getting there. All right? We're getting there. So tonight was a pretty good show. Again, guys, hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button in the corner there. And we're going to get down to business. Wiccan says, does anyone own the trademark to Lucha Bros, or are they free to use it? I do believe they're free to use it, Wiccan. I'm fairly certain. Oh, that's great, Adrian. That's awesome. They're going to turn on Santos. Go with Andrade. Yeah, I could see that. At least Humberto. See, I would hate to see them split up Los Garza 31, but I absolutely could see that happening. I'm so excited what's going to happen with Seth Punk Roman. I know I'm excited for it too, Chris. We'll talk about that towards the end of this. Absolutely. Rachel, I do not know yet. We will see. I would love to be on TikTok next, though. We will see. TikTok has announced. Yeah, I did see that now. So was it June 20th around that time? Yeah, good for TikTok, man. Sticking around a little bit, huh? Yeah. All right, guys, hit that like button and be sure to subscribe. If you have not already, please do me the favor of hitting that subscribe button. I do appreciate you all being here tonight, as always, Mondays and Fridays. So let's jump back into this review of Friday Night SmackDown in Chicago. Back from commercial break here, Drew McIntyre cut a promo wearing an eye patch, channeling his inner pirate. You got to remember, glass in the eye. Real glass. Damian Priest hit him with that South of Heaven choke slam on that BMW a week or two ago. I think it was last week, right? So he might never be the same with the glass in his eye, and he needs a miracle. So he's going to pray, and everyone knows that bad things happen when Drew McIntyre prays, said Drew. We would then get a Braun Strowman interview, and he talks about how he's going to win the U.S. Championship and complete his Grand Slam journey. So Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga rolled up on him. I do like how Solo Sikoa is becoming more vocal. He's no longer in that tribal chief role, obviously, or trying to be. So Solo Sikoa, if you haven't noticed, he's been actually very funny. More of his personality starting to show the actual ability he does have on the mic. When he doesn't have to be super serious, Solo Sikoa is very funny if you've seen any of his independent stuff. Sefa Fatu. Sikoa says he's finished before he even gets started because he's got to go out there and face the Samoan werewolf, Jacob Fatu, which, by the way, I got to give Braun Strowman and Jacob Fatu, before I get to their match, plenty credit. Fun match, physical matchup, last man standing. It was good stuff. LA Knight then rolled up, and I'm not the biggest LA Knight guy, but at times he can be very funny. Sometimes he really gets it done, and tonight was one of those nights backstage. LA Knight rolled up to tell Solo to get his boys in order and Braun to get his eye on the prize, the U.S. title opportunity, that is. Talks about how big his balls are, and Tonga tells him he should be worried about him tonight. LA says he's going to stomp him right out if he can get a referee out here and makes his entrance, yada, yada. But the part that was funny during this is LA Knight mimicked Tama Tonga, where Tama Tonga does the yeah thing, and it was very funny. If you saw it, you know what I'm talking about. Let's see here. Wicked says, why Phoenix coming out showing the diamond cutter symbol? Yeah, I know, right? Self high five. I really hope Sheamus gets that last title at some point. Yeah, me too, Chris. I'm a big Sheamus guy myself, man. So I love nothing other than Sheamus to get that IC title for sure. Again, guys, welcome in here. Friday Night SmackDown review. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And again, thanks for hanging with me for the last 20 minutes or so. LA Knight, Tama Tonga. As usual, man, we see it on Raw a lot. Finn Balor, he usually looking up at the lights, and you see it with the other Bullet Club member here in Tama Tonga, looking up at the lights as well. I'm just going to get down to the basics here because we got a lot to talk about. LA Knight wins by pinfall with a blunt force trauma, BFT, and that was pretty much that. Now, Byron Saxton interviewed Paul Heyman following this. Heyman was berating him for bothering him, and he starts talking to Byron before he realizes that he grabs the camera and says he's on record as saying to CM Punk that no matter what the favor is, his answer is yes. So just tell him and get it out. Get him out of the jam with his tribal chief. He thinks it's now here's the thing, all right? For a lot of us the past week that have been saying we think that Paul Heyman may side with Seth Rollins when all is said and done, maybe coming out of Mania, right? Whether Seth, regardless who wins, Punk, Seth, Roman. Here's the thing. So Paul Heyman thought that Roman Reigns was coming out of the SUV, but it was none other than Seth Rollins. And he addressed him as his tribal chief, or at least whomever he is the manager for, right? And I'll tell you what, man, I think there was something here. I don't think this was by mistake. This was definitely by design, where Heyman acknowledged the fact that the guy who's coming out of the SUV, who he thought was Roman, my tribal chief, but in reality, I think that this could be the beginning of the opening where we see Heyman actually truly acknowledging his next client in Seth Rollins. So if you didn't see that, I don't know what you thought of that, guys, but I thought there was something there. I thought there was some validity, some legitimacy, because even when Seth came in and kind of laughed about it, there was no hostility between them tonight. Even in the ring, they were kind of having fun while Roman was absolutely losing it, and Punk was, just ready to pounce on Roman, and Seth was just out there chilling. And so I don't know, man. I don't know what you guys thought. Let's see here. 70 backer is so high, I'm going to have to take her away from you. Oh, man, I don't know, 31. I don't know. We might have to wrestle for that one, my friend, Stephanie Baker. Appreciate you guys being here with me tonight, by the way, guys. Chris says, I have a feeling Charlotte not winning at Mania. Plus, I really thought the favorite was a title shot. Yeah, Chris, I'm right there with you, man. I thought the favorite was a title shot, too. Absolutely. I've been saying that for weeks. I figured what better, right? Yeah, we'll talk about Charlotte in a little bit, guys. Charlotte, Tiffany, that's become an outright disaster. I think the bottom line here is this, and I'm not going to get ahead of myself too much. By the way, guys, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Welcome in. Friday night SmackDown review. I'm here Mondays and Fridays for a Raw review, SmackDown review after the show. So hit the subscribe button, tell a friend to tell a friend, and hit that like button. What's up there, Judgment Day? What's up? Wigan says, do you think those two would need cohesion together? Seth really doesn't need a mouthpiece like all the other guys. Yeah, I hear you, Wigan. I hear you. I think, though, exploring a different side of Seth Rollins, because, right, Seth does not need a mouthpiece. We could probably name 20 people, veteran or not, or rookie in the company, that could use a Paul Heyman opposed to Seth Rollins. But I am open to Heyman and Seth joining forces, exploring another side of Seth Rollins, maybe where he just doesn't have to say as much. He lets his actions do the talking, or just lets Paul Heyman do the talking, quite frankly. Because I think we've also gotten to the point where Seth has talked so much over the years, quite frankly, that I'm honestly getting tired of Seth talking so damn much. I'll be real. Hell, maybe you guys are getting tired of me talking. Hopefully not. But realistically, I'm getting tired of hearing Seth talk and run his mouth. So a guy like Heyman would add a level of intrigue to Seth. Not just in a heel capacity, but I think as an overall talent going into the second half of 2025. So I don't know what you guys think about that. What happened on SmackDown? Yeah, we're talking about the review here, JD. So JD sucks. So be sure to hit that like button. I know a lot of you guys subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, and we're going to get to it. Just stick around. 31, let's do it, but you will win because I'll go for later. Yes, I do think there is some level of legitimacy of Paul Heyman actually acknowledging his next client. Seth could already be his client. It's already in the works. They're just waiting to let it unfold at Mania in 2 weeks. So, all right. So we're going to then talk about Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton. Sorry, I'm spitting all over the camera here, guys. Sorry. Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton. We're going to talk about this, and I'm going to talk about the simple fact that, they say, what is it? I don't know the exact phrase or quote, but what does it say? Never meet your idols, something like that. You'll be disappointed. This is a classic case of Tiffany Stratton meeting one of her idols, her inspirations in Charlotte Flair, getting into this business from the very start, and has accelerated. NXT champion, WWE Women's Champion, Money in the Bank holder. She's been in the Elimination Chamber. She's been in the Rumble twice already. She's accomplished a lot. Had a feud with Becky Lynch on NXT. I mean, Tiffany's done a lot in her 3 or 4 year career, if that, right? And this has gotten to the point where I'm so concerned about Charlotte and Tiffany Stratton over this past month, not just from a level of intrigue or interest standpoint, but the fact that I think that these two just downright despise one another, that I'm not even sure if Charlotte and Tiffany are capable of having a good match. I hope they do. I hope they're able to put their personal differences aside, because what we saw tonight, there is no way. Well, many times, regardless of the company, whether it is WWE, who knows, AEW, whatever, you want to name the company, sometimes things really are planned and they bring in a lot of personal things that got the green light prior to. But there was a lot of low blows and certain jabs that Tiffany Stratton took during this promo. And I get it. The way Charlotte's came at her the past couple of months, speaking over her, cutting her off, and all this other stuff, pretty much demeaning her as the rookie. I understand why Tiffany took it there to a certain extent. And Charlotte wasn't perfect either. Charlotte said a few things during this promo as well. But I don't know, man. This was uncomfortable. Not in a good way at all. This was kind of like, damn. It was almost to the point where it was unfortunate. And I really don't know what to make of this feud with Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton, other than it's getting ugly. It's getting ugly. And it's also to the point where I want Tiffany to retain. Not that I want to necessarily see Charlotte lose, but I want to see Tiffany get a big win over Charlotte Flair at Mania. Could only help propel her in her title reign, right? So I don't know, guys. We're gonna break it down though more. We're gonna talk about it in a second here. How long am I gonna be on YouTube? For at least another half hour, 40 minutes probably. All set to his cry, says Nas. Their promo was okay tonight, say Chris. Maybe Paul Heyman will borrow some of Seth's clothes. Yeah, that'd be something wicked. I'll get into a few comments here. 31 says, what about Paul betrays Roman? Then Roman sells his soul to The Rock. That's interesting. I have zero interest in Roman selling his soul to The Rock at this point, though. I think there's a lot of other talents that we would be more probably compelled by. You know, Roman doing it, would it be shocking? Sure, but not totally. I mean, they're families, so I don't know. Paul Heyman, Seth manager. Y'all are talking about them too. Yeah, Paul and Seth, I could certainly see them pairing together sometime soon, but we'll see. When your idols become your rival, shout out to MGK for that line. Yeah, right. That as well, Nas, right. Charlotte promo was okay, you said, Chris? Yeah, the Charlotte Tiffany back and forth was a hot mess, really. Here's the thing. Tiffany had a lot of daggers. The thing that wasn't great about Tiffany's, and I get it, she's still newer, even though she is the champ. I feel like Tiffany was so afraid of Charlotte cutting her off as usual that Tiffany had all these bullet points in her brain and she just kept spewing it out like dagger, dagger, dagger. And none of the delivery that Tiffany really brought out was like, I mean, there was a couple like, oh, damn moments, but it wasn't because of the delivery. It was quite literally just what she said. So I'm not saying it was bad. I just don't think it really, I don't know, don't quite delivered the way I thought it should. The whole back and forth exchange was a mess. The crowd got in the mind of Charlotte Flair. She let the crowd of Chicago overtake her. It was a disaster. I mean, look, you're all entitled to your own opinions, you know, whatever. But I mean, if you think Charlotte and Tiffany's segment tonight was good TV, you're sadly mistaken. I mean, maybe you liked it because maybe you don't like Charlotte and Tiffany was dropping some lines out there and saying some things, but I don't think this Charlotte Tiffany feud has been good in any regard. I do think Tiffany struggles to be a face through and through. And although Charlotte has not made it easy for Tiffany in any regard, and should be that veteran leader that really leads this whole feud, quite literally, not just in ring, but segment wise, Charlotte hasn't been the best leader in this either. You know, she's too busy, patting herself on the back, not just calling herself the queen, but just making Tiffany seem less than. And I get it. From a character standpoint, it should feel that way to a point. But it's almost to the point where it's so dismissive where it's almost like you're not even trying to hear what Tiffany's trying to say. So you could easily rebuttal and say that's the whole point. But if you're watching this weekly for the last 3, 4, 5 weeks and you've seen Charlotte and Tiffany exchanges, it hasn't been good. It hasn't been good TV. So a lot of people have had stuff to say about Jay and Gunther over the past month. And even though it picked up immensely this past week with the way that Gunther beat the living hell out of Jimmy, so Jay's really coming from at Mania, that thing has definitely escalated and added a level of intrigue. Tiffany and Charlotte, man, it's missing something. And I hope the one thing that could save this match is that it's actually a good match in the ring, because Charlotte and Tiffany has been probably one of the most, if not the single-handed feud going into WrestleMania that I'm just like, man, I had such higher expectations for this back and forth. I really did. I thought Tiffany would transition better to becoming a babyface. I thought Charlotte would lead this feud a little bit better. Charlotte can have the upper hand during this feud and on the mic. That's fine, but at least let Tiffany get her stuff in a way where Tiffany almost doesn't feel threatened and feels like she has to, just spew everything out in fear of Charlotte cutting her off. So that's what I'm getting at here. I want to get to a couple more comments here. Tiffany does her best mic work as a heel. Yeah, Wiccan, it does feel forced. Sorry, I gotta go. All right, take care there, JD. 0-3 was so cold. Yeah, that was Nas, the divorce segment. Yep. That moment. Trick or Carmelo could sell their soul to Rock. Yeah. Plus, what was up with them dressing alike? Yeah, Rachel, this isn't the first time, right, that Charlotte and Tiffany have wore similar outfits. I don't know what's going on there. I swear no one in that crowd was booing. It was piped in, says Nas. Not a fan of Charlotte. I'm a big fan of Tiffany. All right. I really hope Tiffany versus Charlotte match. Yeah, let's hope it's not a dud, Chris, because that would be a shame. Because on paper, Tiffany and Charlotte should really be great. I'm not saying it's going to be the best match of the weekend, not at all, but I'm not saying we're going to get Charlotte, Rhea Ripley, WrestleMania 39 by any stance, but I do think it should be a match that's good enough, regardless who wins, that you want to leave watching that match and saying, or at home saying, man, I'd love to see a Charlotte-Tiffany rematch. And I think we'll be hard-pressed to say that, really. I don't think we're going to get Charlotte-Tiffany rematch, so we'll see. Thank you, brother. God bless you, too. Thank you. Guys, be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you just walked in here, made your way in here, logged in here, hit the subscribe button, hit that thumbs up as well. All contributions help the channel in any regard, guys, so you could subscribe, hit the likes, obviously comments, any kind of activity on the channel. Everything helps. So I appreciate that. Share with a friend, all that good stuff. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit more about this segment. I didn't really read anything from my notes in depth here. So we got Charlotte and Tiffany, as you made mention, coming out in very similar outfits, right? Black outfits here. Flair, talked about her reaction from the crowd. Everybody booing the living hell out of Charlotte. And Tiffany asked them what time it is. Crowd goes Tiffy time. Charlotte says Tiffany was begging and she's the gift that keeps giving. Also talked about, she hasn't done charitable work lately, and so this is what Charlotte considered to be charity, something along those lines, by picking Tiffany for WrestleMania, right? Excuse me. She wanted to show the smartest wrestling fans here in the world, right here in Chicago, that there is no comparison. Stratton says Charlotte's greatest opponent has always been the fans, and she'll never win. Now, and no matter what, how many titles Charlotte does win, she'll always come second to her daddy, Ric Flair. Now, if you thought that was bad, it gets worse. Take Charlotte a moment to speak above the Chicago crowd, right? Charlotte was definitely feeling the heat. Charlotte was almost feeling the heat from this crowd, almost like a rookie would, really. It's one thing to let them talk their talk, but she seemed like she was losing her train of thought and definitely didn't finish whatever she came to say initially. So basically, Charlotte took a moment to speak about the Chicago and asks if Tiffany thinks she's the first to say that she comes second to her dad, right? She's heard that before. Booing continues. Again, this then threw Charlotte Flair off big time. This threw Charlotte off. It was uncomfortable. She let Stratton have the last word. Not saying she wanted her to, but I really do think the crowd got to Charlotte so much that she was like, well, damn, I don't know what I was going to say next. I forget. Tiffany says that Charlotte was trying to play volleyball at Tiffany's current age, 25, 26. At that time, Charlotte was playing volleyball and drinking in her daddy's basement. Yeah, 25. Whereas she's walking into WrestleMania as the WWE Women's Champion. Now, to be fair to Charlotte, even the harshest Charlotte critics should understand that Charlotte never wanted to be a wrestler. It was never her dream. It was her brother Reed's dream. Unfortunately, Reed passed away way too young, unfortunately, and carried her brother's dream and became a pro wrestler. So give, Charlotte her props. She had a great career in NXT. She's done very well on the main roster, like her or not. So to be fair, this was not what Charlotte set out to do. And this is something Tiffany obviously wanted and did at a younger age. But the line was still good nonetheless. Flair says it's just another match, but she's gotten to, and she might be the queen inside the ring, but outside she ain't the queen of shit. That's what she said. Not my words, hers. She calls Charlotte a Nepo baby. Flair disagrees, saying she's the Nepo queen. So she embraced it, I guess just reworded it. And she's the number one Nepo baby. Stratton gets another couple words off. And Charlotte asks if that's why Ludwig Kaiser is in her DMs. Now, that's Tiffany's fiance or husband at this point. I forget. Either or. That segment, there was a lot more said. A lot more detailed. You could go watch it on YouTube or WWE, whatever. It wasn't a terrible segment, but it could have been a lot better. I think that's fair to say. This could have been a hell of a lot better. It seemed like, Tiffany was just getting out what she could, like a robot, just saying all these things, and try to be as hurtful as she could outright to Charlotte. It almost seemed at one point Tiffany was trying to be so hurtful. I said, damn, is Tiffany still working heel? And Charlotte, obviously not a babyface. But you kind of felt like you had a heel versus heel for a little bit here, right? From the exchange that was made. Nick Aldis comes out, has a major announcement in conjunction with Adam Pearce, and says next week there will be a number one contenders gauntlet match for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. Moving on from this Charlotte Tiffany segment. Again, the teams that we're going to have, by the way, Kaden and Katana, Lyra and Bailey. We have Shayna and Zoe, B-Fab and Mishin, Piper Niven, Alba Fire, and Natalya and Maxine Dupree. Now, I don't know, guys. Moving on from Tiffany Charlotte, let me read a few comments, and then we'll talk about this gauntlet match taking place next Friday. A lot more wrestlers return to face Randy at Mania. Yeah, Chris, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Imagine Becky return to cost Rhea and Bianca and the match. That'd be something, 31. What's up there, Cal? How we doing tonight? Report came out and said that they both went off script. Yeah, Nas, there was zero doubt that Charlotte and Tiffany went off script. Dare I say, realistically, and this is being generous, I think maybe 20 to 25% of that back and forth exchange was scripted. Dare I say the other 70, 75% was off the handle completely. When Charlotte forgot what she was going to say, Tiffany was throwing so many personal daggers that she's been writing in her room, her house for the last week, on the road, on the plane. Basically, since Charlotte, everybody was saying it, which I agree, Charlotte, cooked Tiffany via satellite 2 weeks ago. Dare I say, Tiffany's been writing in her diary the last 2 weeks mean things I could say to Charlotte Flair. And she let him loose tonight. Again, the delivery of a lot of what Tiffany said to Charlotte wasn't great, but she got her point across. She got her point across. So that's, I guess, all that matters when all is said and done. So she was outright mean to Charlotte. Not saying Charlotte didn't deserve it to a point, but she was outright mean to Charlotte. Bringing up the comment from a couple days ago when Charlotte was on, what was it, the Sherry Shepherd show? Forgot to make mention of that. And, when Charlotte kind of broke down, getting divorced for the third time, while at the same time coming back to the company, winning the Royal Rumble. But that news broke literally 48, 72 hours, something along those lines, after she won the Rumble, broke out in early February. So, yeah, I mean, Tiffany took a lot of personal jabs at Charlotte. And again, even if you despise Charlotte Flair personally or professionally, Tiffany was coming for her head tonight. So agree with it or not, that way of being, Tiffany was not playing games. And that's why I think they went very off script. I think Charlotte was shocked and appalled at what Tiffany had to say. And Charlotte said, hell, I'm taking the gloves off. I'm going to make a Ludwig Kaiser mention at the end of this thing, too. And we're really going to heat things up. I mean, these two might just be throwing haymakers at each other at Mania. Who knows? This should be a last woman standing match. I want to hear the most severe of stipulations. Forget the title. This is a match where I don't even care about the title anymore. That's a cherry on top. I want to see these two beat the living hell out of each other because obviously there's a lot of pent-up aggression on both sides. Charlotte says, I've been away for just over a year rehabbing my knee. And who is this other blonde, Tiffany, that came up from NXT and has been making a loud splash in 2024, the new champion since January 3rd. And I'm trying to become a 15-time champion. Forget her. She said, forget this, flavor of the week. So we'll see what happens, man. But it's going to be very interesting. Very interesting. Let's see. Said they both didn't really say anything that was supposed to be said. Yeah, definitely does. What's up there, Cal? Again, what's going on? 31 says, imagine Becky returns and costs Rhea and Bianca. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, here's the thing, though, 31. And look, Becky left after she lost her title to Liv Morgan, right? So could Becky insert herself into the main title picture? Absolutely. But to be honest with you, I love Becky Lynch. I really do. But I have zero interest in Becky returning to the main event picture right now. In 2021, much different. But we've seen Becky interrupt a Bianca match before. And not just interrupt it, but beat Bianca at SummerSlam 2021, which didn't go over well with many. Just even if you were a Becky fan, just the way they went about it was terrible. So dare I say they won't have Becky interrupt a Bianca match again. I really don't think so. I think you bring in Becky Lynch for Lyra Valkyria. And even if you put Lyra over, I think you really need heavy hitters to emphasize this mid-card title scene. But I get what you're saying. Becky lost her title last May to Liv. Why not come back for it? Even though Liv isn't the one she's going after. But we'll see. We'll see. Cal says, I hope Cena wins at Mania. Sure, Punk for reveal what the favor was. Yeah, we're going to get to it in a little bit, guys. So, again, who do you have winning this gauntlet next Friday? Again, to go up against Liv and Raquel at Mania for the tag titles. Kaden Katana, Lyra Bailey. We have, again, Shayna Zoe, B-Fab Mishin, Alba Piper, and Natalya Maxine. I would just simply have to go based off a process of elimination with this match, right? It's hard to say. Obviously, Liv and Raquel are heels. So if I want to eliminate the heels from Jump Street, there's two sets of heels here. Shayna and Zoe, and Piper and Alba. So the other four teams are baby faces pretty much. Don't think it's going to be Natalya and Maxine. Nor do I necessarily think it's going to be Kaden and Katana. Though I would like that for them. So I really think it comes down to B-Fab and Mishin and Lyra and Bailey. And again, I love B-Fab, and she's, doing her thing. Had a match with Naomi. We'll speak about that in a minute. I would love that for Mishin and B-Fab. I don't necessarily see that being a Mania match. So maybe if they're not having the IC title and the US title for the women on Mania, which I think is ridiculous, maybe they do put Lyra with Bailey for the tag titles. I think that's kind of lame, but I think they may go that route. KO was on SmackDown, Cal. Yes. Oh, Cal. Boy, do we got some news for you, Cal. You didn't see SmackDown tonight, Cal. Kevin Owens is your guy. I almost feel like I hate giving you the news. I guess we got to jump to this right now, guys, because Cal's a big Kevin Owens fan. If you're ribbing me, I don't know if you... I'd like to see Bailey and Lyra get that opportunity, though, Rachel. All that being said. But I think they're the most qualified for a Mania match, right, for the tag titles. Cal, Kevin Owens is out of Mania. He's leaving to get neck surgery, man. Will, you fell asleep? Okay. Well, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news going into hour 3, but Kevin Owens is off of Mania. Randy Orton ended up RKOing Nick Aldis out of frustration. Could we get Orton in Aldis? Who knows? But who's gonna be Orton's opponent? We don't know. But Kevin Owens is not just off of Mania, but Kevin Owens is gone from the WWE for at least the rest of the year. Who knows when he'll be back? So I'm sorry to give you, the big Kevin Owens fan you are, man, that bad news. But KO's out. I feel for KO, man. I really do. It sucks to ever be sidelined with an injury, especially when you have a match already scheduled at Mania, and then a neck injury at that. You know, God knows how long he's going to be out. So I am sorry to report to you that Kevin Owens news. Again, guys, if you just got in here, hit that subscribe button, all right? Hit that subscribe. Also, hit that like button in the corner on our way to double-digit likes. But again, hit the subscribe button, and we're going to get down to business in just a moment. Continuing with the second half of this review tonight, let's talk about, Let's talk about the fact that after this news about the tag team gauntlet, we got DIY versus Motor City Machine Guns. Number one contenders match for the Street Profits tag titles. Long story short, because we got a lot to talk about still, Motor City got the win. Even though DIY tried to cheat at the end, Tommaso Ciampa tried to cheat to get the victory. Motor City got the win. So they confronted the Profits, who were there ringside for that match. And we got Motor City going up against, the Profits. I do believe that the Profits will retain their titles. They just won them back not even a month ago for the first time in 4 years, 2 months, and a week. So I don't think they're going to lose anytime soon. I don't even know when that match is taking place. Could it be next week? Could it be on Mania? Sure, but we shall see. Following that, we had Mellow Miz roll up on Pretty Deadly. They mocked them for losing a title shot in their own country last week, London, England. Pretty Deadly offered their own jokes. They talked about the Marine 3, Marine 4, Marine 5, about the Miz. And Miz asks how their musical is coming that they've talked about for months now. And they say they have a song about a guy who hasn't been relevant in years called The Miz. So for what it was worth, it was a little cheesy, but I thought it was fun backstage. Miz talks up tag success, and they say he's always got a newer, hotter model, like the Leonardo DiCaprio of tag teams. They accuse Mellow Miz of not being a real tag team, but that gets them all upset for a match, I believe, next week. So we now would go into B-Fab versus Naomi. We're going to talk about that in a moment's time. Cal says at least Randy Orton saved himself from getting hurt by Kevin Owens. Yeah. DIY should have gotten it done. No, DIY did not win. No, the Motor City Machine Guns won that match. Now, B-Fab and Naomi. Naomi was making her way out. She was then attacked by Jade Cargill at the entranceway. No new theme music for Naomi yet. I assume we're going to get a more heelish theme song in the coming weeks. Maybe they debuted at Mania. I think Mania is a cool time to debut Naomi's theme if they got it done in 2 weeks' time. Long story short, decent match with B-Fab. B-Fab got some offense due to a hobbled Naomi from Jade Cargill. Naomi wins with a wrist clutch single leg code breaker, which was cool. You know, it seems like this may be her new finisher. I don't recall her really doing this very often, seemingly getting away from the rear view and all that. So that was that. Post-match, Naomi asks Jade where she's at because she's still standing. Jade appears from out of nowhere, lands a thrust kick. Jade was taken out by the security guards before Jade was able to hit her jaded finisher on Naomi. Nick Aldis comes out. We needed some semblance. SmackDown GM Nick Aldis comes out and says he's had enough of this, and there's only one solution. We're getting Naomi and Jade Cargill at WrestleMania. So good for them. Good for these ladies. I'm excited for them. And so that's on Mania. It's official. Following that, Damian Priest cuts a promo as a rebuttal to Drew McIntyre's earlier in the night. And then, we're going to get that match at Mania as well. Not made official yet, I don't believe. KO is shown walking backstage, looking a little dejected before Nick Aldis even came out to let us know what we were about to hear. And when Nick Aldis came out, we weren't so sure what the hell he was talking about. But we found out sooner than later, and it was very surprising when we found out that this, in fact, was nothing that was actually kayfabe, and that this was actually 1,000% legitimate. So very unfortunate news we're about to get here. 31 says, give Stephanie Becker a hug or give Stone Cold a handshake. You're making it hard for me, man. I do like Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, if you said in that comment, a hug from Stephanie or cracking a cold one, a Steve Weiser with Austin, I might go with Steve on that. No, I would go with Steve on that. But just a handshake, I don't know, man. I'm going to have to go with Stephanie on that one. Ray Phoenix, when is he going to have his first match? Yeah, Ray Phoenix fought earlier in the night. He defeated Nathan Frazier, one half of Fraxium. Decent match. Good for Ray Phoenix. So here we go, guys. We're going to talk a little bit about Nick Aldis setting the stage here for Kevin Owens to make his way out. Guys, I want to thank you for being here tonight. Hit that subscribe button if you just got here. Hit the subscribe button. Hit that thumbs up as we make our way into the second half of this Friday Night SmackDown review. Rachel says, if you could team with only Stephanie or Stone Cold for the rest of your career. Oh, if I could team with somebody, Rachel? Absolutely Stone Cold. Absolutely Stone Cold Steve Austin. Because we're having some real matches. This ain't some mixed match challenge, which I'm not opposed to either. But Stone Cold all day. But if you're talking about a handshake from Stone Cold or a hug from Stephanie McCurr, come on now. I'm obviously going for that hug. But if I need a tag team partner, I'm going with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now give me a hell yeah. Now we're going to move on. We're going to move on to Nick Aldis setting the stage for something we didn't intend on hearing tonight. A lot of us, including myself, I know Cal in the chat, a lot of us were excited for Kevin Owens, Randy Orton. Randy Orton had a receipt dating back to earlier in the fall with that pile driver, that package pile driver that KO gave to Orton, to Cody, to Sammy, who's still on the milk carton home somewhere, rehabilitating. So who knows? Who knows what Sammy's going to come back to now? Because a lot of us assume that Sammy could interfere in the Orton KO match at Mania, or Sammy just shows up and maybe gets a match with KO at Backlash. Who knows? But I wonder what Sammy's going to be implemented in now after Mania with KO out. Kind of makes you wonder. But anyway, Nick Aldis is in the ring, says this is one of the parts of his job that isn't fun. He says there's a difference between coming back next week and everything's fine and not knowing if you'll ever be able to get in the ring again. Now, this was when I said, oh my goodness, what is this about? He says there's a reason they say don't try this at home. As the old commercials we all knew growing up, watching WWF for me or WWE for you guys. But he wants us to hear it from the man himself, and he introduces Kevin Owens. Now, look, we all know since Bad Blood, early October, when KO attacked Cody Rhodes in the parking lot, we knew it was at that moment in time that KO has finally transitioned for the first time in a couple of years from babyface to heel, right? So I'm not great at math, but what? KO's been a heel for the better part of the last 6 months. Very obviously, too, right? He's looking to hurt people. So seeing Kevin Owens, it's always tough, especially in a raucous crowd like Chicago, right? For a guy like Kevin Owens, who is a despised heel, to, I'm not going to call this a heartfelt promo, but a genuine promo, a real promo. Now, this is much different. This is much different than October of 2018, September, October of 2018, when Roman Reigns came out and said, my name's Joe, and I have to relinquish my Universal Championship, when he came out and let us know that his cancer had returned, right? His leukemia. And that's when a lot of the people that hated Roman at the moment in time took a deep breath and said, oh my God, there's no way this could be some scripted stuff. He's relinquishing the title. So it's a moment where you kind of step back and said, oh damn, now look, what Kevin Owens let us know tonight wasn't quite cancer like Roman Reigns did in the fall of 2018, but it was significant and career and life altering. When he talks about his neck injury and that he's sidelined, not only will he not be able to compete against Randy Orton in 2 weeks' time at WrestleMania, but he doesn't know if he's going to be able to wrestle again after wrestling 25 years collectively, right? So KO goes on. Actually, let me pull up my notes here. So here we go. So Owens gets on the mic here. Let me read a couple comments before I read this whole Kevin Owens segment. Let's see. Be friends with Stone Cold Steve Austin to be friends with Roman. Yeah, Austin for all day. Just happy that Randy Orton unable to see himself. Kevin Owens hurting Orton. What about Sammy? Yeah, what about Sammy, Chris? I don't know, man. We'll see him after Mania, I would assume. I'm glad that Randy Orton is not going to get hurt by KO. Get it, didn't like Randy, but you never know. Randy may have one. Randy, a good wrestler. I don't see Rocket Mania. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Final Signal, what's up there, my friend? Guys, if you just joined the wrestling chat here, we're talking Friday Night SmackDown review. Road to WrestleMania, hit that subscribe button, all right? Hit the subscribe button, hit that like button as well. Appreciate you. Cal says, Rich, I'll give you that. We'll see what happens. And, yeah, hopefully they link up again. But again, guys, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. And now we're going to talk about this Kevin Owens promo, all right? Now we're going to jump into this Owens promo right here. And Owens gets on the mic and says he's been doing this for 25 years, as I mentioned. In that time, he gave everything he had. Every single time he stepped in the ring, and he's gotten to live incredible things and experience things he'll never forget. Take care of his family in ways he can never dream of. He means it. Now, the crowd's kind of wondering, all this set this up is serious. Is Kevin Owens ribbing us? Is he just trying to back out or back down from Randy Orton from a kayfabe standpoint? We didn't know. We didn't know, me included. I said, this does seem legit, but let's stay tuned. So he says there's a price to pay for that. And that's the toll on their bodies. He says, and now it seems like it's his turn. The reality is, for the last 4 months, basically the majority of his recent heel run, he's been dealing with a very serious neck injury. And this week they figured it out, and now he has to go get neck surgery. So that's what he's going to do, and the timing couldn't be worse because he's not getting to be in the ring with Randy Orton at WrestleMania. This really sucks. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I think the vast majority, I mean, there's only 9 matches as of tonight. If they kept this match on the card, KO and Orton, it would be 10 matches officially scheduled after SmackDown tonight. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'd be led to believe that at least for most of us, regardless where it ranks in number order, that Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, has got to be around the range of a top 3, top 4 match. Out of the 10 matches that have been made official already, Orton and Owens has got to be at least around your guys' 3-4 area. You know, some of you might be your number 1, but what I'm trying to say is us losing this match of Orton and Owens at Mania is highly unfortunate. Now, do I think we get Orton on the card still? I do believe so, especially with Backlash taking place a month later in his hometown, St. Louis, Missouri. Backlash, May 10th, right? Under a month away from WrestleMania weekend. So I do think Orton will be on the card in some regard. Again, highly unfortunate situation. He said he's thankful for WWE for letting him come out, and says it himself because he doesn't know when he's going to get to come out here again. The last few years, he's learned not to take anything for granted, and he's learned not to take this for granted. So for now, he wants to say thank you, and he's sorry. On his way out, Randy Orton makes his entrance. The two have a brief stare down rather, while Kevin Owens was on the apron, the outside of the apron. Randy and him had a stare down as Randy was on the ring steps. KO made his way down. Randy made his way into the ring. You know, that was pretty much that. Did you guys notice, though, that Kevin Owens confronted a fan and then the camera did not pan back to it? So I was led to believe that KO was having a war of words with somebody who probably went on to say something slick to Kevin Owens. And honestly, when you're in that fragile and emotional of a state as Kevin Owens, having to relinquish not only his WrestleMania match in 2 weeks and not finish that feud with Orton, win, lose, or draw, but also not knowing if this is the end of your career, and those were your last words in a WWE ring. And then some fan may have made a smart comment. So that's probably why they did not pan back to KO at that moment in time. I thought they would have panned back to him once or twice more. Did not happen. You know, Orton made his way into the ring. Aldis apologized for him no longer having a match. Randy Orton then dropped Aldis with an RKO. I said, oh, damn. And then we went to break. So this will then be followed with a phenomenal main event match, which I'm going to talk about. We got one match in the final segment with Punk, Seth, and Roman to talk about. So stick with me here, guys. This was a very thorough show that, again, that's why I've elaborated on most of this show, because it was good. Usually I breeze through a lot of this, but Road to WrestleMania, we got some good stuff to discuss. Let's see here. Do you think if Kevin Owens beat Randy Orton, he could potentially get a title shot? I'd love that for him, Cal. Never say never, but not off the bat. I think Kevin do Mark Henry moves, but that's not the case. Yeah, Chris, I hear you. I was a little wondering myself, you know, ribbing us in that heel capacity. 31 asks, why do I feel like this WrestleMania isn't exciting? 31, because simply stated, it's not. This WrestleMania is not as exciting as last year's. And I'm not saying that because last year I went to Mania. There was a lot riding on the line. You know, night one's main event match, and then the Bloodline Rules match or not, going into Roman and Cody rematch, part 2. Back-to-back years. Would Cody finish the story? Would Roman go on and hit 4 years eventually as champion? So there was a lot more to talk about last year other than that as well. But that's not to say, look, it's not to say this Mania is not going to be a good one. I think this Mania is going to be very good when all is said and done. They had to make a lot of adjustments last year too. We were going to get Punk Seth. Punk was removed. Right, there's a couple other matches as well that were supposed to take place that did not go as planned. So Charlotte was out with an injury. Like her or not, Charlotte, of course, would have been on Mania last year. Things happen. Let's see here. Rachel says, I've got a what if for you. What if they have Randy just show up at WrestleMania like they did with Seth Rollins and Aleister Black returns to face Randy or something like that? That'd be fun. That'd be fun seeing something like that there, Rachel. Cal says, when is John Cena going back to babyface? Could be as early as Mania, could be as late as July, August. Again, as I say here, at least once a week. As far as we walk into September 1, right? We walk into the month of September. I have every reason to believe that John Cena will be a babyface. Champion or not, you know, champion, who knows if and when. But I do think John Cena walks into the fall months or at least September 1st as a babyface, even if it does take him that long to get back to it. So let's talk about this. I thought this was a great physical matchup. These two reminded me, Braun's had a lot of, say what you want about Braun Strowman, man. He can do what he got to do, especially when he gets another good big man in there to work with him. We saw him and Bronson Reed make magic last year a few times. And here we were, it's no different. These two have met before earlier this year as well. Braun Strowman versus the Samoan Werewolf, Jacob Fatu. This was the number one contender's last man standing match for the United States Championship. Now, these two started off fighting on the floor. Fatu took control, heads up top. Strowman pulls him right back down. These two are beating the living hell out of each other. I'm talking about going into the crowd, going through tables, going through quite literally everything, using quite literally everything. And it was a good match. I enjoyed it. The guy who won, I thought would win. I did not think we were going to get Braun Strowman versus an LA Knight type of deal. I did not think we were going babyface in this scenario. The way this wraps up, suplex off the cases and through a table. Braun was bleeding from his arm at that point, crawling back to the ringside area. Fatu put him through a table with a hip attack. Both men were down. The referee was counting. Jacob was getting up at 8, pulls himself up, and it was over. Last man standing, quite literally. Strowman was unable to get up to his feet in time, and Jacob Fatu won. He'll be going up against LA Knight, and I believe this match is going to take place at WrestleMania in 2 weeks' time. Now, I was a big advocate for, the U.S. title match at Mania, maybe having a 5 to 7 man ladder match, right? I thought that was the way to go on SmackDown. I thought on Raw you could go the Fatal 4-Way route with Finn, with Dom, with Penta, and of course Braun Breaker, which they still very well may do. But I thought as far as a ladder match was concerned for one of these mid-card titles, I thought a ladder match would have been appropriate for the U.S. title. However, they're not doing that. We will not see the likes of, not saying they won't be on the card completely, it doesn't look that way, but, whether it's a Santos or an Andrade or a Mello. Obviously, Big Jim is sidelined right now. Nakamura, he's kind of pretty much done with. But LA Knight, and you want to add a couple others in there. And I thought you had the potential to have a really good ladder match for the U.S. title, but I guess that's not the case. Here we were at the main event spot here. SUV rolls up. Roman's finally here, completely ignoring Paul Heyman, which I loved. All the back and forth Heyman has had with Punk. Roman's sick of it, quite literally. Reigns came out, asked Chicago to acknowledge him, and asked his wise man if he is here. Heyman says he is. The crowd responds with a big CM Punk chant. They are in Chicago at last. Let me get to a couple comments here. We're going to jump right into this end bit, guys. Rachel says, I'd rather see Cena win 17 as a babyface so he can celebrate. Yeah, I kind of agree with you there, Rachel. I'm not opposed to Cena winning. Look, as long as Cena gets 17 this year, I'm okay with it. If he does it as a heel, so be it. But personally, me being a big babyface guy as well, there's part of me that definitely wants to see John Cena win this as a babyface. I'd be lying otherwise. I read Bronson Reed may return close SummerSlam. Yeah, that's probably more so along those lines, Chris. I don't see a Bronson Reed back prior to August. Throwing up the ones for Roman. Yeah, absolutely. I see the profile picture there, Rachel. Wiccan goes on to say, I don't see Knight losing this early. Yeah, I agree. And I'm going to elaborate. Well, yeah, I'll elaborate on that right now. So before I get to this main event segment here, guys, with Punk, with Roman, and with Seth, to add to Wiccan's point about LA Knight losing potentially to Jacob Fatu, if I think it's just a straight-up one-on-one match, the two, no interference, I absolutely do think Jacob Fatu would win that match. But I think, early prediction, Solo Sikoa gets involved. And even if it doesn't look like he's visibly trying to ruin it for Jacob, he will, absolutely. Even if it's inadvertent. Solo Sikoa, mark my words, will cost Jacob Fatu that U.S. title. And that is single-handedly why LA Knight's going to retain that title at Mania. Because look at it from two ways. Obviously Jacob could win. He's who's really going to stop this guy, the Samoan Werewolf? And B, are they really going to take the U.S. title off of LA Knight after barely a month and a half reign? They gave him the title for the better part of 4 months, the first reign, the first go-around from SummerSlam to Survivor Series. But are they really going to take it off of LA Knight that quick? No, I don't think so. So that leads me to believe that how is Jacob Fatu going to get screwed in this sense? And it's got to be because Solo Sikoa cost him the match. Maybe he makes his way out at the end and costs him the match in some regard. That's the only way. That's the only way that Jacob doesn't win and LA Knight retains. So I'll leave it at that. But yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Wiccan. I did want to add those 2 cents as well. Yep, there you go, Rachel. Yep, Solo absolutely cost him the U.S. belt. Cal, I could see Carmelo Hayes versus Knight at SummerSlam. Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah, maybe a SummerSlam is. I could see LA Knight dropping around SummerSlam, if not before that. There, Cal, to a guy like Carmelo Hayes. Yeah, I think I've said this even a month or so ago. Regardless who it was against, I could see Melo, a mid card champion, by the middle or just after the middle part of this year. And so that'd be a little into the second half of this year. I think it'd be about time for Melo to get his hands on some gold, right? By then, maybe they would have wrapped up the whole Miz and Carmelo stuff, but they're buying time for Melo in the meantime, right? Which is smart. Because if you have Melo strictly in singles these days, it's like, how do you not have him on WrestleMania? But you have him mixing him up with the Miz lately, the Melo don't Miz bit the last month or so. And it's like, oh, the reason he's not going after singles titles is because he's mixed up with the Miz, and they're having tag team matches, which they teased tonight with Pretty Deadly. Assuming we may get that match next week, who knows? And so that's one way they're buying time for Melo until they work him into singles this summer. And then, yeah, I like that point, Cal. Maybe mix him right into the U.S. title scene and potentially beating LA Knight later this summer. Chris says, what about Ray Phoenix? That match was fun. Yeah, we talked about that earlier. It was fun. Thought it was a good match. You know, if I'm going to compare, which I don't like to compare too much, but since they're the Lucha Bros, I was much more impressed with the debuting Penta against Chad Gable. Now, to be fair, Chad Gable is much more of a veteran than Nathan Frazier is. Frazier's great, don't get me wrong. But Penta Gable, I enjoyed much more than Phoenix and Frazier. But it was cool. It was a good match. It was nice. They opened up the night for the first match of the night. Did I see Ethan Page is on TNA? Yeah, I did see he's part of that triple threat at Rebellion, is that, Cal? For Joe Hendry's title, right? And who else is in there? Kazarian or somebody like that? Looks good. I did see the graphic last night. All right, so guys, we're going to jump into this main event segment. Again, Jacob Fatu beating Braun Strowman was the main event match. But we're going to get to this main event segment. Thank you for hanging with me. 12:45 here on the East Coast almost. Be sure to hit the thumbs up, guys. Hit that like button. I promise. Don't cost you a dime. Not even a penny. Hit the subscribe button as well. Hit that subscribe. And we're going to go forth here, and we're going to discuss a few things, all right? About this main event segment. Rachel says, Penta is your favorite. Ray, cool, but I like Penta. Yeah, Penta's just, again, Rachel, you know, I've always gravitated to Penta more so, too. He's just cool. He's just a cool dude. Wiccan says it was a great match, but Phoenix and Axiom would have been, oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if Axiom hadn't been given that opportunity again against Gunther in his home Barcelona, Spain a few weeks ago, I agree. I would have probably preferred Axiom as well. That would have been fun. That would have been a lot of fun. So here we go, guys. We're going to jump into this last bit here. And again, guys, if you were wondering what matches are taking place next Friday on SmackDown, again, we have that women's gauntlet match for the #1 contender to live in Raquel. I believe that match will take place at WrestleMania. We have a face-to-face advertised next Friday on SmackDown with Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, will be in the building. And as they discussed earlier in the show, Ray Phoenix will go one-on-one with Humberto Correa, or Berto as they call him now, one half of Los Garza of Legado del Fantasma, right? So that's what we have on tap. Monday, the only match I see advertised is Bayley going up against Lyra Valkyria for her Intercontinental Championship. Now, I do think Lyra will retain. Remember, these two are going to be a tag team just 4 nights later on SmackDown in that gauntlet match to contend for the tag titles. So I could see them winning that match. You know, having a great match Monday where Lyra retains. It's a respect thing. Bayley's pretty cool like that, especially when she's a babyface. Not so sure how much of a role model she is as a heel, but nonetheless, as I digress, I think it'll be a fun gauntlet match in a couple days from Monday. The kick out was so good with Ray. Yes, absolutely, Chris. Yeah, I enjoyed the match. I did. Do you think we could ever see Ray Phoenix as a champion? Absolutely, Cal. Never say never, but other than a tag champion, I do think he could have some singles gold in the mid-card. You know, maybe not this go-around. See, like, this go-around, I think there's more of a likelihood of Penta winning, like, an IC title or something like that, obviously. He's going up against Breaker and stuff like that. So I feel like this go-around, Penta may be the guy who wins a mid-card title. Then the Lucha Bros eventually will tag team. Obviously, they're a tag team by nature. They'll be together for probably a year or two at least, right? As they always are. And then Ray Phoenix is a guy who I could see win a mid-card title towards the latter part of his WWE career. You know, maybe win a mid-card title for a little bit, something like that, a few months here or there. But again, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Pooh Cody, do you think TikTok is actually going to get banned again? Yeah, they said there's an extension, Cal, till at least mid-June. So got another 90 days or so like we did this time around. All right, so let me finally, I know I'm dragging my feet here. This is a long review, man. Thanks for sticking with me, guys, the last hour or so. And we're going to talk a little bit about Roman Reigns. You know, he set the stage, CM Punk in Chicago, knew he was going to make his way out. and says he wouldn't be in the main event of WrestleMania if it wasn't for him, and he gets it. He's from the same city, and they're good people, but they're not smart. Roman addressing Chicago. CM Punk's been around forever and wrestled everyone under the sun, but he's never been in the main event of WrestleMania. Not until he was introduced to the Tribal Chief. The crowd chants for him, and Roman asks Punk to come on down and indulge his Tribal Chief as to what this favor is. Instead, we would then get Seth Rollins. As expected, we weren't going to get it that easy. He says Roman doesn't like living in reality and cites a few examples of WrestleManias where things went wrong. 10 years ago, Heist of the Century, WrestleMania 31. Remember, that was the first time we had Roman Brock Part 1, where Brock was champion. Roman was trying to dethrone him, obviously. Seth came in, cashed in Money in the Bank. What a friggin' WrestleMania that was, right? Talks about how he could have stopped Punk at the Garden a couple weeks back. Roman interrupted that. Reigns fires back and says Seth doesn't understand loyalty, but he keeps his word. And he didn't call Seth down here, he called Punk down here. Rollins says he's out of here to hear from CM Punk. And then CM Punk made his way down. And guys, we're going to get to the second half of this final segment of Friday Night SmackDown. Again, thanks for joining me the last hour, guys. Mondays and Fridays, I'm on here for a full review of Raw and SmackDown immediately following the show. If you make your way in here, I just ask two things. Hit the subscribe button. Again, hit that subscribe. Hit that thumbs up. Hit the like. And would love to hear what you think about this show and your thoughts about the road to WrestleMania in general. Let's see here. Let's see, 75 days. Okay, cool. At this point, Paul Heyman is turning on Roman. Yeah, maybe. I can see Rock Travis returning next week. Okay, all right. Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll see The Rock soon. Cena did his 3 consecutive weeks internationally. Now that we're back in the States, more of a likelihood we'll see The Rock in the interim. Only got, 2 Raws and 2 SmackDowns, guys. 2 Raws and 2 SmackDowns before WrestleMania 41. So, assuming we'll see The Rock at least once, if not twice. And who knows? Maybe Cena may even rear his head once, but who knows? We'll see what happens. All right, so Punk gets on the mic, circles around the favor, saying it's about friendship, legacy, promises made, promises kept, and loyalty. This goes back to Louisville, Kentucky, and OVW, right? And they told Paul that Punk doesn't belong and he should fire him. But he said, no, Paul truly is a wise man, and he prophesied this on national TV. Punk goes on to say, hell, even before that, on the day Paul left his company on Big Show's bus, the 3 of them and Rob Van Dam talked amongst themselves, and he made it about him. Paul, they're going to fire me. Paul, don't leave. And he said, no, you'll be fine. Punk apologizes for making it about him and asks what he can do. Heyman said, when you main event WrestleMania, force them to deal with us. He says, well, they aren't here anymore, so he's going to force the Tribal Chief to deal with them out of his comfort zone. Because at WrestleMania in the main event in Punk's corner, his wise man, Punk's best friend, Paul Heyman. This moment in time, we said, oh, damn. So now Seth will come down on his own. Roman may come down on his own. And now Paul Heyman's going to rekindle that time with CM Punk. They're going to come down and come out there together. And honestly, I don't know about you guys. I've enjoyed Paul Heyman and Roman for, since they've been together, August, September 2020. What a run it's been. What a run it's been. Not only just Roman's reign as champion, alongside Paul, that immediately turned him to a heel when we saw them to align backstage. I remember it was Adam Pearce, Roman, and then they panned the Heyman, right? And, man, it's been great stuff. It really has been nothing short of excellent all these years. But I'm ready for Roman and Heyman to part ways. It's going to be bittersweet, but it needs to be done. Need to rip the Band-Aid off. And so just do it. Now, even if it's a one night only and Heyman eventually does go down the aisleway with Punk, the bigger question that we talked about 68 minutes ago when we started this live is, who leaves WrestleMania 41 with Paul Heyman by their side? Now, Roman may not be walking down there with him this time. It's going to be weird without him. Especially in the very same match that you do see Paul Heyman, but coming out with CM Punk. And then Seth Rollins. So does Seth leave with Heyman? I'm still leaning towards it. Just because Punk's putting all this history out there with Heyman and this big love fest we've seen the past couple of weeks, or even dating back to before Survivor Series when Heyman called upon CM Punk to join them for War Games against the New Bloodline. To be honest with you guys, man, I don't know. I still think there's something there with Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman, like it or not. So, I don't know. So, Reigns looked distraught. Seth was loving this, by the way. Seth was absolutely eating it up. He would have asked for seconds or thirds and a doggy bag to take home to eat over the weekend. Seth was loving this tension and dissension between Punk and Roman and Heyman and just the craziness involved. So, Roman looks away and then looks back, asking if that's really the favor. Laughs it off, and Punk looks at him. Roman says Paul loves him and needs him, and he saved him, and even if he let him, he wouldn't. He asked his wise man to let this desperate fool down easy. Paul Heyman, man, red-eyed, looks at him conflicted, about to cry, unable to bring the mic to his mouth or even force the words out. Reigns asks if he's crying and says he better wipe him up and tell him no. Tell CM Punk you're not going to do this. The words started pouring off, and Roman said he took Paul in and made him relevant. Tell him no. Heyman wiped a tear from his eye. Roman says he's going to give him one more opportunity. Heyman lifts the microphone to his mouth and says he can't do that. Paul Heyman denied the tribal chief of telling Punk no. Heyman lifts the microphone again, said he can't do that. Rollins fell to his knees, laughing in the ring. Again, Seth Rollins was loving this, eating it up. Roman gets Paul in the corner. CM Punk blindsides the tribal chief. Ends up closing the show with a GTS. We had a brief stare down with Rollins and Punk across the way. And, Roman was not happy. Roman was not happy. Heyman was screaming no in some kind of an agonizing way. And that was pretty much that, guys. And this was Friday Night SmackDown. Again, regardless what I said about Friday Night SmackDown in 2025, especially going at 3 hours opposed to 2, more times than not, it's been dreadful these past 3+ months, 3.5 months. But honestly, tonight, I got to say, tonight was a great show. Tonight was a phenomenal show. Was everything perfect? No, but most of it was very good. And a lot of it made sense. We got 3 matches scheduled for WrestleMania just tonight alone. Now, we got 1 removed for the time being. KO out with his neck injury, scheduled to get neck surgery in the foreseeable future. But Randy will get back in the card in the coming weeks, I do believe. So what was added, you may ask? Jade Cargill versus Naomi. We also have LA Knight versus #1 contender Jacob Fatu, and then Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. We'll find out their #1 contender next Friday on SmackDown when we have the 6-women tag team gauntlet match. And so that's what we have on tap for next Friday. And let me get to the comments here. Stone Cold is your friend or Penta. Stone Cold all day, man. You know that. Let's see. Rachel says it's time for Roman to go without Heyman. I agree. Yeah. They need to get rid of the bloodline. It's Chris. The bloodline will always be around, Chris. It may not always be on TV, but you know the long lineage, and they're always pumping out pro wrestlers, man. It's in their blood. Cal says, Randy Orton has the potential to beat Cody. Sure. We could. Look, if Cody retains, I'll be honest with you. If Cody retains at Mania, well, we could see Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton at Backlash in Randy's hometown. I think one of the 2 opponents you got to give Randy is whoever holds that title. So whether that's Cody Rhodes or whether that's John Cena, either one's intriguing to me. Everybody's going to have their bias because a lot of people wants to see, a heel John Cena. And even though he hit all this with an RKO tonight, let's just call it a babyface Randy Orton, right? So in his hometown of St. Louis, Missouri. Or you can get, the callback to Legacy, Ted DiBiase Jr., Cody Rhodes, and Randy Orton. Legacy, right? You can see Cody Rhodes defending his title against Randy Orton. Randy did say after you defend that title successfully at Mania against John Cody, he said it last week on SmackDown, right? That I'm coming for you and that title. So he says, I'm letting you know right now. I'm not going to stab you in the back. I'm going to let you know right now that I'm coming for you in that title to make it number 15, right? So we'll see what happens. But either way, I do think 2 things happen. I do think either Randy gets Cena or Cody at Backlash in his hometown. And with that said, the main way we'll decide that is whoever is the champion coming out of Mania is who will face Orton. Now, look, even if Cena doesn't win the title, we do want to get Cena and Orton before this year's over. I know we all could agree on that. Whether you're a big Cena fan, whether you're more of an Orton fan like I am, more so than Cena a little bit, or if you just want to see the match collectively. Who would not want to see Cena-Orton during Cena's farewell tour? And then again, the caveat of Cena being a heel this time and Orton being a face in 2025. Pretty crazy. So, again, guys, that pretty much sums up my Friday Night SmackDown review. I'm going to head out of here in a minute. Thank you for joining me tonight, guys. If you haven't already, hit the like button. Again, if you haven't already as well, hit the subscribe button. And thank you for joining me for this last, I don't know, what's it been, hour, 15 minutes or so. Hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. What's up there? Grand Ted, was it Grand Tettons? Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. You agree about wanting Roman and Heyman parting ways. Yeah, big time. It's time. They served their purpose, though. It's been a lot of fun. SmackDown 8.9. Yeah, it's fair, Rachel. Yeah, I give the show damn near a 9. Thought it was great. I thought there was a lot of comments said, truthfully or not, in Charlotte and Tiffany. I didn't like the segment because I just thought Charlotte and Tiffany was definitely not a bright spot. It was just a friggin' hot mess. The way it went back and forth. Charlotte let the fans get in her head. Tiffany was just throwing daggers, left, right, and center. Um, it was a mess, but we'll see what happens. We'll come to that feud. Again, hopefully the match is good. What's up there, Sammy? Welcome in. Again, guys, if you have not already, it's been a great hour and a half almost with you guys. Wrapping up the SmackDown review, guys. I am here on YouTube specifically every Monday, every Friday, after Raw, after SmackDown. Full review of the show as we did tonight. Again, I did enjoy this SmackDown. I haven't said that about many SmackDowns in 2025, especially 3-hour SmackDowns. A lot of them early on in January, February were rough to get through, if you know what I mean. But tonight was good, and we're 2 weeks away from WrestleMania 41. So if nothing else, there's got to be at least one of these 9 matches that have been scheduled already on this card. I'll go over it real quick before I get out of here of what is on the card. Obviously, KO and Randy were removed tonight, but we'll talk about the other 9 real briefly. I just watched that Tiffany and Charlotte segment, and it made me sweat with how wild it was. Yeah, Sammy, that segment was crazy. Again, there was a lot of daggers thrown, mainly by Tiffany, because she's fed up with Charlotte. And I'm not saying it wasn't good in the sense where they said a whole lot of back and forth, but it was just the way it was conducted. It was generally, it was a disaster. It was a mess. It really was. We'll see what happens, again, when it comes to the match. Nas says, I'm still waiting for Omos to return. Yeah, well, we know he's cleared, right? He was wrestling, where was he? A few months ago. Was he in Japan or China wrestling as a tag team champion? Chris says, I could see Cody win at WrestleMania. Randy walks in and goes face to face with Cody. Yeah, there you set up Backlash right there, right? What's up, Grand? Do you think an Orton heel turn is coming? I mean, who knows? Make of it what you want tonight. You know, Orton to me is always a tweener, even if he just innocently RKO'd Aldis tonight. You know, could it be impending to fill that void of a major heel on SmackDown and in KO being gone? Sure, I could see them jumping into that, giving us a major heel in him. Do you think we could see Cody versus Randy at SummerSlam for the title? Yeah, Cal, again, as I made mention of, we could see that at Backlash, man. Cena Orton and Cena Punk. Yes, I agree with you. Yes, Cena Orton, Cena Punk is a must without question. Big Jim's not at Mania, Cal, because TV-wise, if you didn't watch Raw Monday, TV-wise, he's been written off for the time being. Gunther beat the living hell out of him. Grand Tetons, like the mountain range in Wyoming and eastern Idaho. Oh, okay. Very nice, very nice. Thank you for clarifying. Cal says, do you think we could see Randy Orton get the 18th world title? Yeah, well, actually, no. He's only at 14 right now, Cal. I'm fairly certain. I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he got the 14 in 2020 when he beat Drew McIntyre, tying Triple H's record. And so I'm fairly certain if Orton were to win again, then he would be at 15. Do I think he'll get to 18? No, I don't. Do I think he could get to 17? Maybe, but again, if he's only at 14, we're asking a lot of Randy Orton at this stage of his career to win 3 or 4 more titles. I think at absolute best, and that's if Randy wins one of these title reigns in 2025, whether it's from Cody or somebody else, I think at absolute best, Randy Orton ties Flair at 16. Again, if Orton's at 14, I think maybe 15, 16, he may be good for 2 more title reigns. Other than that, man, I don't know. Let's see here. What if Randy Orton restarted Legacy with Punk and Rhodes? That's an interesting one. He's at 14, right, Chris? I thought so, yeah. So, again, guys, I am going to make my way out of here. Actually, let me just run down the matches that are official on Mania right now. I'm probably going to head over to TikTok in a few minutes there, Cal. Probably around 1:15 a.m. for a little bit. Obviously, we got Roman, Punk, and Seth, right? Main eventing night 1, that triple threat. We got Cody Rhodes, John Cena for the Undisputed title. Night 2 main eventing as well. So those are the 2 main events for each night. Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair for the Women's Championship. Gunther versus Jey Uso for the World Heavyweight Championship. Io Sky versus Bianca Belair for the Women's World Championship. They'll probably throw Rhea in the mix. AJ Styles versus Logan Paul. LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu for the WWE United States Championship. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez going up against the winner of the Gauntlet match next Friday, right? Presumably so. And Jade Cargill versus Naomi. Now, those are the 9 matches scheduled right now. Again, Orton and KO have been removed due to KO's injury, and hopefully Orton's back on here in some regard. Find an opponent for him in the next week or 2. And, yeah, they only have 9 matches scheduled right now. I think at minimum they do 7 and 7 each night. Maximum, obviously, they would do 8 and 8. So either we get the 14, which means we would only get 5 more matches added. We would only get 5 more matches added if they go with the 14 route. But hey, if they do so choose to go 16 matches at 8 and 8 each night, then we would have then we would have what, 7 more matches? Yeah, we'd have 7 more matches. So yeah, we either get the 5 or 7 more matches added to Mania collectively. So there's a lot in the works that just haven't been made official yet, right? Like Drew and Damian Priest. They'll make that official next Friday. So McIntyre and Priest is one. What's another one, guys? Drop it in the comments right now. Are they going to have the women's U.S. title and IC title on the show? I'm kind of thinking they may not. I'm thinking, especially if Lyra is to win with Bayley next Friday on SmackDown, and they're the tag team to go up against Liv and Raquel, then there you have it right there. We didn't see Chelsea tonight, right? Did we not see Chelsea? Maybe we did. I don't know. Nia Jax is injured. Yeah, but Nia Jax retweeted and said that was not true, though, Chris. I did read that as well. I think Roman Reigns is going to walk out on Paul Heyman. Cena and Charlotte Flair win their match at Mania. Okay. I'm hoping for the opposite, Cal. Well, I'm not. I'm more so hoping for the opposite because I want to see Tiffany retain. I'm not hoping Cena loses, but I do think he is going to lose. And Rachel says, I need to crash. Got to be up 6 hours. Hey, no problem there, Rachel. Appreciate you as always. Thank you for joining me as always, whether it's here, TikTok Live. You're great. Have a great weekend, Rach. If I don't talk to you. So there you have it, guys. There are the matches that I just discussed for WrestleMania 41. 9 matches scheduled so far. Again, we'll get at least 5 at minimum to make it 14, or 7 at maximum to make it 16. To do either 7 and 7 or 8 and 8 the weekend of the 19th and 20th of April. Can you believe it, man? It's April 5th already. And 19th and 20th is Mania, man. It really crept up on us big time, big time. So I want to thank each and every one of you guys for joining me tonight for this Friday Night SmackDown review. It's been a great hour and 20 plus minutes. If you haven't already, guys, hit that like button, all right? Hit the thumbs up. Quit playing around. Hit the subscribe button. What are you waiting for, all right? Don't just keep me in your browser. Subscribe to the channel. And again, every Monday and Friday after Raw and SmackDown, I do a full review of the show. And so subscribe to me here. Hit that like button. And you can also follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on X, Facebook, and TikTok, where I also go live on TikTok from time to time as well. At Turnbuckle, TOPIX. You can follow me on all those platforms. Same handle, Turnbuckle, TOPIX. Make it real simple and easy for you guys. A couple more comments before I get out of here. Jimmy won't be here to help us, brother. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Good night. It's great hanging out. Yeah, thank you, 31. Appreciate you, man. God bless as well. God bless you as well. Appreciate you hanging here. John says, I think Paul Heyman will turn on Roman before Mania. Okay. Yeah, again, I'm thinking there's still very well maybe some validity that he leaves with Seth Rollins come the night of WrestleMania Night 1, but we'll see. This could be very interesting, guys. Well, it's going to be interesting. So thank you again for joining me for this Friday Night SmackDown review. I appreciate each and every single one of you. Again, hit that like button before you head out of here. Hit that thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button. And I'll catch you Monday. I'll catch you Monday here immediately following Monday Night Raw. We have a lot to talk about. By the time Monday rolls around, we're less than 2 weeks away from WrestleMania 41. All right, guys, have a great weekend, and I'll catch you next time. Talk soon.